Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and I am super excited to be joined by fellow Kidnapper is Their Love Language co-host, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hey Becky, thanks for having me.
Of course. I do believe one of the first things we kind of bonded over was kidnapping.
It probably was.
Yeah,
I love a good kidnapping.
I do too. I mean, give me a stalker. There's nothing sexier than a stalker. This is the episode that if it's a red flag in real life, it is not a red flag in our romance.
Yes, I completely agree with that statement for sure.
So our term of the week this week is well, first let me tell you what we're talking about on this episode. So on this episode, Rachel and I are going to share our favorite kidnapping and stalker romances. We're going to add over the top possessive heroes into this mix, the ones that give her the we love her, touch her, and die kind of vibes. Um, we might give you a top 10, but it might just be back and forth. We're telling you all the books you guys should read if you like these kind of vibes. Um, if you like to live dangerously, get your pens and paper ready because we are off with the Rex here. But I want to do our term of the week because this is nitpicky, and Rachel is going to like roll her eyes and laugh at me on this one. Um, so one of the things that really bugs me is when people use the terms forced proximity and close proximity interchangeably.
Okay, I agree with you though.
They're
I
not the same
agree.
thing.
They're not the same thing. One is forced, you have no choice.
Right. So, like, if you're roommates, there is nothing keeping you from moving out. That's close proximity.
But if you are you live there and then your brother's like, "Hey, my best friend needs someplace to stay and you're gonna do this for me." I can see how that might be a little forced.
Or you could go home and
Or
move
you
in
can
with
move
mom and
out.
dad. I'm just
But
saying.
I do think if there is something you can do to get out of the situation, it's not true forced proximity.
It's not. Like, so Weather Trapped, we read for book club earlier this year, The Ripple Effect by Jay Bensington. If you've not read that book, read that book. The audiobook was tops. Tops, 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 tops. Um, that's forced proximity. The, I can't tell you why it is because I don't want to spoil that book, but just trust me when I tell you, it's forced. If you're in a hurricane together, it's forced. If you are in a cabin and you are snowed in, forced. So,
If you can't physically leave,
right, that is forced. Being coworkers is not forced proximity because you can quit your job and find a different job.
you can. It might not necessarily be easy, but you can do it.
Right. If you are on a road trip with somebody, like I recently read Planes, Trains, and All the Feels by oh my gosh. I just talked to her. Anyway, it's a book. I read it. Um Livy Hart wrote it. That's her name, Livy Hart. Go me for names. Um they are stuck in a car together. That's kind of forced proximity. Yes, she could get out and she does at one point jump out of the car. Um but it's forced proximity, like because you're in the middle of nowhere, you have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Um, so what is forced proximity? The forced proximity trope is used in books where the main characters are forced to spend time together, either wanted or unwanted, giving them time and space to fall in love. On a cruise ship, forced, you can't go anywhere else.
You can't.
Um, so these tropes that we're talking about today are really forced proximity romances. So,
Yes.
okay, now that we have that out, it's such a great. I was listening to someone on Instagram, like I was looking at a reel and they were like, oh my God, these are my favorite forced proximity. And they're like, neighbor. And I'm like, our roommate. And I'm like,
It's close.
it's close, sweetheart.
Close proximity.
Stop saying the wrong words. Um,
People just like the word forced, apparently.
I mean, They don't understand that kidnapping is a love language. Like,
They don't.
they don't understand it.
I and it's funny because I love like all kidnapping, like in fiction. Um,
You don't care if it's the hero or an
I don't
outside
care if it's
person?
the hero or if someone else kidnaps them and then the hero has to like find the heroine. Like all the kidnapping. I don't even care. I
I
don't discriminate.
My list I went through for this episode because we have kidnapping and stalkers plus touch 'em and die vibes, which are kind of all of these heroes really. Um I had a list of over like 54 that were all my top favorites that I couldn't like not
That's
talk
so
about.
funny.
Okay, so when I say we're talking possessive heroes, stalkers, kidnappers, what do you expect from these kinds of romances?
So I like automatically expect them to be like a little on the darker side or at the very least have some darker themes just because we're talking about kidnapping and stalkers. Like what do those mean? So I definitely think of that and then I think of like a hero who's just obsessed with the heroine.
Yeah, so like I was thinking about, I don't know if you've read it, The Relentless Devil by Kylie Kent.
I haven't read that one yet.
Oh my God, it's so good. So this is kind of a stalker, but he's the stalker, the hero is, because they have a meet cute. It's a meet cute in a mafia romance, which apparently is like catnip for me. Um,
Right.
but they meet, she spills coffee on him. He's attracted to her. He stalks her to find out where she works her second job. He waits outside her second job and then follows her to her apartment. The next morning, he shows up ready to drive her back into the city to the coffee shop because he doesn't want her riding public transit. Like,
No.
and basically, he gets tired. He just pursues her relentlessly. And he gets tired of her saying no until he basically is like, okay, pack up, you're moving in. And I love it. I'm
I
like,
love that so much.
it's such a great book. Um, so yeah, that's kind of,
So,
like
yeah.
it works. That's what I kind of expect. Like that there's this intense obsession, this intense pining um that you expect to see
Yeah,
from usually the
definitely.
hero. Cuz I don't know,
Yeah,
do you have any female stalkers?
I don't.
I don't either. I don't think I do either.
I feel like that's like frowned upon for whatever reason.
I mean, obsessed fan.
I don't know why it just doesn't work the same.
I guess Fake by Kylie Scott. He has a female stalker. It's kind of
Oh,
weird because she ends up in the middle of his
yeah.
living room at one point. Okay. So do you have like an example of kind of the obsessed hero that you expect in these kind of
Yeah.
romances? Do you have an
So,
example?
like Zoe Blake's Ruthless Obsession series, it's mafia.
Every Zoe Blake book.
True. I do have like multiple on here, but it's like by multiple I mean 8 because I have series. Like full but the Ruthless Obsession series like I mean obsession is in the series name. Like all of these heroes are like obsessed with the heroines. And it's like at first sight, basically.
Yeah.
Like in one of the books, in which one is it? In Sweet Cruelty, he like is hired to find her because she was kidnapped. And he like has never even seen her in person and is like, well, she's mine now. He just has a picture.
I love that. Well, so like have you read the Nevea Alta series? That's her
I
Broken series.
haven't. I need to.
Oh my God.
I
Okay.
need
So
I
in
know.
Broken Whispers, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. He is scarred on his face, and she has selective mutism. But she's a dancer. Or no, she doesn't have selective mutism. She had a vocal cord injury that rendered her mute, and it's painful for her to make noise at
Yeah.
all. she's a ballet dancer. And before he knows she's the daughter of an Italian mafia capo, or no, her father is a Don. Um, he's been stalking her at the ballet and watching all of her performances and leaves her a yellow rose at every performance. And then when the daughter is floated for an arranged marriage to the Russian Don that the hero works for in Broken Whispers, he's like, I'll take her. She's mine. And he didn't expect her because he doesn't like to be touched.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
so he's only like, only she can touch him. It's a single
I
dad.
love that trope.
Like, when I tell you this, Nevea Alta, when these books hit, I'm telling you, these books hit. But they are violent. Most of these books, we are going to suggest you check content and trigger warnings. We'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah, just go ahead and check it on all of these.
And if you're concerned about one, just send us each a DM. We'll happily help you.
For sure. And if I haven't read it, I might even just read it for you to let you know.
Right. We'll let you know what they are. Have you read Rebecca Gannon?
No, what the heck is going on with me?
I don't know. So
I'm getting all the book recs.
she wrote a book. It's a series. This is book one in this series. It's called Casino King by Rebecca Gannon. So this is an over-the-top to possessive hero. She is a lounge dancer in his Atlantic City casino. And he sits in the corner on her Friday nights that she dances, and he watches her. And then he leaves as soon as her part of the performance is done. And he leaves her presents on her dressing table. Now, he also sends his second in command to be her bodyguard and to watch over her. But she and the bodyguard become friendly. Nothing bad, they're just friendly. And the bodyguard stands between him and her. He shoots the bodyguard. Like, that's how crazy possessive he is.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway. So it's those kind of heroes we expect in kidnapping, stalker, possessive hero romances. I could go on. Like, seriously, I have a list of 15 possessive over the top.
Oh my, I'm so bad at like remembering tropes of books.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it. So I had the best time like going through and like finding like my recommendations for this because I found so many books that I want to read for one. And that it like makes you remember all of these moments in the books that you just absolutely loved. Like you said that about the like shooting. Well, I have you read Charity Farrell's
No, it is
series?
on my Kindle. The Monster.
Yeah, it's like Gorgeous Monster is book one, and then Gorgeous Prince is book two. Gorgeous Monster is the head of the family. It's the Marchetti Mafia series. I forget if it's in New York or Chicago, but anyway,
Chicago has a
I
mafia
don't
problem.
remember.
We all know it's fine.
Yeah. So it's in one of those, and it's like the dad is the head, and then it's his daughter's best friend needs protection. It was excellent.
Okay.
He is like super over the top with her, of course. And then book two is the son who has an arranged marriage with the daughter of another family.
Okay, wait. Book one, his daughter's best friend is the heroine? So the
Yes,
dad? Is he a
yes,
daddy?
he is.
You know, I'm in my daddy era. So.
Yes, this is like perfect for you. But there is a scene in book one where the son shoots a guy, and you find out it is a guy that the heroine from book two brought in. So you like see it in both books.
Oh my
So
God.
it's not a spoiler,
I love that. I love that.
but you see it in both books. And I was like, and he didn't even want this marriage. Like,
But he's shooting people up. I'm in. I am so in. Okay, so there is a new series that's been coming out, and book three in the trilogy is not out yet. And I know you don't love cliffhangers. Look, she's got sad face on for you guys. But J.L. Beck has this Torio Empire series. It's Empire of Lust, Empire of Lies are the first two books, and the book three comes out in the middle of June. You guys, it's her best friend's dad and total touch him and vibe, touch her and die kind of vibes. There's not so ex-wife involved, and you guys, like, her ex-boyfriend disappears mysteriously. Anyway,
I love it.
I'm just saying this series lives rent free in my head. But
Well, to be honest, I probably won't read it until every book is out
I
because
know
I just can't deal with cliffhangers
it's
unless I don't know it going in and then I'm just like forced to deal with it,
fine.
which that has happened to me before.
No, it's fair. Well,
I don't do it willingly.
did you read? So earlier this year, I think it was back in March, when I was prepping, it might have been even February, when I was prepping for the Mafia episode, and I accidentally read that Nikolai by Bella J.
No, I haven't read Bella J. I'm I've heard good things, but I am scared in like a good way.
They're
Scared in a good way.
bonkers. Like, I read book one, and then I rage read the next two books because each couple gets $3. Like, I rage read them. I dragged Tiara from book club through this series with me. And she's like, Becky, what are you doing to me? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's this whole bonker scene. Okay, so total touch him and die vibes, you guys. Like, do not touch her. He will kill you. So he has four brothers, or three brothers, and then kind of this foster brother. He catches her the first night that they're together. He catches her in a bedroom door watching his brother, his twin brother, or no, his youngest brother, have sex with somebody else. She, like, is masturbating and then goes to the bathroom, like, runs away from him, goes to the bathroom. He then catches her masturbating in the bathroom, and then they masturbate together. Fast forward to the next night. They have dinner on the patio, and they're sitting out on like a stone bench out on the patio. The same brother comes up the walk, and they're kind of fooling around, and he then gets her off while the brother watches. He's like, he saw you, or you saw him, now he's gonna see you. Then there's this other scene with his twin brother, we think. We don't really know because she dreams about having two guys. Like, that's her desire. But he can't penetrate her except, like, basically her mouth.
Yeah.
Anyway, just so y'all know, I read this series. It's bonkers, but it's delightful. But he's so crazy. Like, he gives into her desires, but he's so crazy in
Right.
his possession of her. Like, you can't touch her.
That's amazing.
It's
I love that. I love that.
it's so bonkers. So I know you read Zoe Blake's her first
Yeah,
series.
yeah, that like Ivanov crime family.
Yeah, I love those three
That's like a
books.
whole lot of like kidnapping, stalking. I
Well,
love it.
and it's primal kink. Basically, those women run away and the men chase.
They do. Yeah. And I love that. I like wasn't sure if I would,
Yeah,
but I think I told you I read like that series and the Ruthless Obsession series in like 5 days.
yeah. It's
It's like
so
eight
good.
books.
It's so good. Um, have you read her Scandals of the Father, her
I
Cavan
haven't yet.
Cavatelli or Cavanelli series?
I really want them to come out on audio
Yeah.
because that's how I read the other books, and the audios were so good.
Um, you are in your audiobook era, aren't you?
I am. I get so much more reading done, like, because I have like other stuff to do,
Stupid
unfortunately.
grown-ups.
I know, but I listen to audiobooks all the time now, and it's amazing.
So if you want a possessive hero, but you don't want necessarily dark romance with violence, Royal by Rebel Shaw. Have you read that book yet? It's now in KU.
I haven't. It's in KU.
It is in
It's been on
KU.
my TBR.
Heather and I, it's been over a year with this book. It came out last May. We're still obsessed with this book. Obsessed. It is sexy. He is hot. He owns a dance club. Anyway, there's a scene in his office. It's a delight. A pure delight, guys.
Yeah, and another rec for like touch her and die vibes in a more contemporary setting and not dark romance is I would say the Redemption Hill series by A.L. Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Because it, it gets like dark-ish with some of the like goings on
Yeah.
with their past and that kind of stuff, but all of those heroes are very much like touch her and die vibes.
Okay, so let's talk about sometimes it's the hero who stalks or kidnaps. So these are books where the hero himself is the one that is forcing the proximity. And I've decided that old school wise, this is when I first fell in love with this kind of trope. Because if I look back at some of my most favorite romances that I read early on in my romance landia career back in, the other millennium. Kingdom of Dreams by Judith McNaught. Kidnapping. The Wedding by Julie Garwood. Kidnapping. Perfect by Judith McNaught. He kidnaps her. It's a contemporary one. He kidnaps her at gunpoint. He's a movie star that's been accused of murder, and they get snowed in together in the mountains of Colorado while they're on the run. Anyway,
I love that.
so I believe that my kidnapping obsession started very early on.
That's so funny. So my like first darker romance was a stalker-ish romance. It's called Debt by Nina G. Jones. Have you read it?
No.
It is bonkers. Like so bonkers. So, without spoiling anything, the heroine has a rape fantasy and she hires someone online and then someone comes to her house and she like, because she hired someone online. Well, it's not the person she hired online.
It's just someone
It's the
breaking into
hero.
her house.
It's the hero. And like he has yeah. So it's like for revenge. I don't want to spoil anything, but basically he has been watching her like for revenge. And it just so happens that the night he decides to break in and attack her is the night she hired someone for the rape fantasy.
Okay, that's a
And that
little
all happens
bonkers.
at the very beginning.
That's a little bonkers. Okay, so if you're looking for something a little lighter with a stalker of a hero that stalks, Codename Hacker by Sawyer Bennett, he stalks the heroine.
He does.
It is not
That's a good one.
bonkers. It's
Yeah,
a great
like
book.
certainly less triggers.
Let's see here.
Oh, that's hilarious.
S-
I kind of put Narrow by S.J. Tilley.
okay. I haven't
I
read
don't know
that
if you've
yet.
read it yet.
No.
So that book is so much fun. Like probably the most fun I've had like reading a mafia book. He is crazy and like their meet cute, if you want to call it cute, was hilarious to me. Like I would be so creeped out. He just like appears in her living room because he's running from the
Well,
cops.
well, that sounds like Jill Ramsauer. Our next book club selection is Corrupted Union. Have you read that one yet?
I have.
They meet cute over a knife.
Yeah, like I love that. And but it's like kind of a similar situation in Narrow to the book you talked about earlier. Like he basically like finds where she works and like has someone go in and like get the kind of drink she likes, like just absolute like is obsessed and
Obsessed with her.
stalking her and she doesn't even know it for a little
Sad.
bit.
Okay, so Stone Cold Notes by Julia Wolf. So I don't, I guess I'm spoiling it. The hero stalks the heroine, but we do not know it. And she talks about how she feels watched. Like different points in her life. She's a single mom and she feels watched. Well, it's the drummer from the rock band.
Oh my gosh.
But
That's
for him,
amazing.
it's like he's caring for her and making sure she's safe. Right.
Totally normal behavior.
Not a red flag. Um, did you go down the heaven and hell rabbit hole? It was like heaven, hell, hitman, um, that
No,
Leah and I went down last year.
no, who wrote that?
So Heaven was written by Darcy Rose and C. Hallman. Hell was written by J.L. Beck and C. Hallman. And I think Hitman was um no, wrong, was by Adeline Forrest. And in all honesty, like that's my quote Jenny just loves that I said hell had more plot than heaven.
Huh,
I said that on an episode when we were talking, like
that's
doing our
funny.
book of the week. Um, but that series has those over the top stalker, possessive, there is kidnapping, hitman deals with sleeping beauty kink. So,
Yeah,
again, check your content and trigger
for
warnings.
sure. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But you did read Until I Get You by Claire Contreras.
Contreras, yes.
The
I
hero
love that
stalks
book.
her.
And he is like obsessed with her. And like total touch her and die
Yeah.
vibes. Like Lachlan Duke is just next level, like crazy person that you don't think that he is someone who would ever be that obsessed with someone, and he just like goes further than I ever even thought.
He is like atomic in his obsession. It's like
Yes.
nuclear, you guys. Like,
Oh, it's amazing.
um, so Cassie Hart has a book called Soulmate Stalker, and they fall in love young, and their parents keep them apart, and he stalks her. She has a whole series with the word stalker. They're little
Love
novellas,
it.
and they're delightful. Um, so those are some stalker ones. Do you have ones where the hero kidnaps the heroine?
Yeah, so I think my first one, like I was late to the game in reading like darker romance and mafia romance and all that stuff because for whatever reason I thought I wouldn't like it, which was wrong. So my first one I read where the hero kidnaps the heroine is Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark.
Okay.
It's book two in her Brutal Birthright series, which I read because of book club. And I like loved it. Like I loved the hero so much. Miko, I like he could kidnap me and I would like go willingly.
Sign me up. I love that. Um, did you read the Mia Finelli series, The Mafia Mistress? It is
I'm reading book one right now,
okay.
actually.
So that book starts off, she's kidnapped by the hero. And later in book two, she gets kidnapped by somebody else. But that book, she's actually betrothed, engaged to his
To his
son.
son.
Anyway, I very much enjoyed that little duet. I did not read book three. It came out a year ago and it is uber violent. But
Really?
book three is super, super. I mean, there's a lot of violence in these two books. Book three of that series is super violent. And book four is male mafia. So it's the son. So I need to go read book four. But yeah.
Yeah. And then Carnal Urges by J.T. Geisinger.
Yep.
That entire Queens and Monsters series is like obsessed heroes who are like kidnapping like normal girls,
Well,
basically.
in Beautifully Cruel, she gets kidnapped by somebody else, right? And he saves her.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
there's like a variety of kidnapping tropes in that series.
Stealing Cinderella by A. Zavarelli. If you haven't read that one, the hero does the kidnapping. Uh, Descent by Sam Marino. It's part of the Heaven and Hell series. The hero kidnaps her and she has an outside stalker. So it's like the little trifecta.
Perfect.
I have 11 different books where the hero kidnaps the
Oh,
heroine.
that's so funny.
Den of Sins by Alta Hensley and Renee Rose. The hero kidnaps her. He's supposed to kill her, but he instead kidnaps her.
Yeah.
And book two in that series comes out. It's a duet. So we did book one. Book two comes out late June, and we have a happy hour with the two of them. So
Yeah, I'm excited to read that once book two is out because, me and cliffhangers.
I
But
know.
I read Sick Crush by Alta Hensley, and that's a stalker romance that I was like hesitant about, but I actually really liked.
I really like Alta Hensley. She has a retelling she's doing right now with Roman gods and brothers.
Okay.
It's really, really good. Um, I'm really enjoying that. Technically Corrupted Union by Jill Ramsauer. He sort of kidnaps her halfway through
There's
the
a little
book.
kidnapping in there. Yeah, I have that down too for kidnapping. I'm like, that counts.
Um, did you read the Bianca Cole Mafia books?
Yes.
Okay, you
If
guys, like,
if you want some like dirty books too,
but red flags. There's no
so many
consent.
red flags.
No
There's a ton of red flags, but like also like a ton of sex.
So much sex. Cruel Daddy and Brutal Daddy are my two favorites, and both have kidnapping.
Of course, the daddy books. Becky loves them. Is
Listen, I
anyone
have a
surprised?
type.
Is anyone surprised?
um, have you read Michelle Hurd's Her Sinner series?
Yes, that is on my list.
Is it so? So,
Yes.
Captured by a Sinner and Stolen by a Sinner are both heroes that kidnap the heroines. So,
Yes, they are, and they're phenomenal. And I really like the audio.
I didn't do the
And
audio, I just did the
fun
books.
fact, fun fact, the narrators are married.
Fun.
It's James Foster, I think, and then Kelsey Navarro is
Oh,
is now Kelsey Navarro Foster. They're married.
a little love in Romance Landia. I kind of love that.
I do too.
Um, Little Dove by Layla Frost is got hero kidnaps. Until Mayhem by I think that's also Layla Frost. Uh Also he kidnaps her. He kidnaps her from the grocery store and then he holds her and doesn't want to give her back after they realize they kidnapped the wrong person.
I
Like
need to read that.
like he
That
hasn't
sounds
even seen
fun.
her, but he's like and book one is called Hide and Seek of that series and again, kidnapping.
Yeah, I love it.
It's motorcycle club kidnapping, so bonus. Um,
Bonus.
let's see. Oh, okay. So books where someone outside the hero does the kidnapping. And then we'll go back to stalking. So I have Buttons and Lace by Penelope Sky. These are old school dark romances. If you haven't read her, again, check your content warnings because they are
Take them seriously.
take them very seriously. But she's sold into sex slavery, abducted by somebody else, but then held by the hero and has to barter her way to her freedom with buttons and sex. Anyway,
Interesting.
um,
Um,
go ahead. I'm thinking about this
so
episode and I'm thinking the people on the other end are going to be like, what's wrong with Rachel and Becky?
I mean, this part of the trope is like more normal. Um, as I say this, I'm gonna recommend Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. Check your content and trigger warnings for this book. The hero and the heroine are kidnapped in this book by a serial killer.
Okay.
So
So we got murder.
I did the audio. I don't know why I find it I don't know. I found it easier to listen to that than read, which sounds like pretty twisted.
But I think it's kind of like a movie. You can maybe it's not as immersive. You can disconnect. You're still doing dishes while you're reading. You're not
Yeah.
like soul focused like you are when you're reading with your eyeballs.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sure.
Um, sure. So that was a good one. Also, Susan Stoker, a lot of her heroines get kidnapped. So,
Catherine Cowell. I think
yes.
all her heroines get kidnapped.
Yeah, and I was like going through the Tattered and Torn series. I was like, you can really just put all of those books on there. Because one, it's like all like kicked off by a kidnapping. So
Right.
they're basically all kidnapping romances. But Susan Stoker, the first one of hers that I read was Justice for Mackenzie. She is kidnapped by a serial killer,
Okay.
and the hero is a state trooper, and he has to find her. And
Uh,
it's like live streamed, which
okay.
is like pretty dark for a Susan
That
Stoker
is
novel,
pretty,
but
that is pretty dark.
it was very good.
I know you're a big fan of Susan, and I do know she likes a good kidnapping.
She does like a good kidnapping. Like I think most of her books have kidnapping of some sort.
um, Calla Riley writes Mafia, and our friend Heather is a huge fan, a bit of a fangirl. And I know that Calla Riley, they listen to the podcast. So I want to mention Callum by Calla Riley. The heroine is kidnapped by the hero's underlings, but on accident, not on purpose.
Oh my gosh.
They're sent to kill, like to get money or take care of a problem at a convenience store. She happens to be in the store and witness it. So instead of just letting her go, they kidnap her. And then he rescues her.
I love it.
It was really good. They are a great writing duo. So,
I know. I need to read them. They've been on my TBR, but I've been like struggling to like read. I'm mostly just doing audio.
yeah.
But one I just thought of that's like kind of kidnapping. I don't know if I'd say kidnapping more than like kind of held against their will. But Cayenne by L.K. Shaw. It's the first book in like her Irish Mafia series that spun off of her Brooklyn Mafia series. And he wins the heroine in a poker game from her dad.
Oh. So she's like really not afraid to do things because L.K. Shaw has a book that's called Auction. And I'm like, I mean, we all know how I feel about a virgin auction.
Yeah. Oh, and this heroine's a virgin too. Like that's what he won was her
Oh,
virginity at the poker table.
fun.
So at like 5 a.m. they show up at her dad's house and are like, "Hey, sorry, you belong to me now."
Nice.
But her dad's obviously a piece of crap.
Well, obviously, but okay.
So there's like a stabbing, like it's great. Like the heroine from another book stabs the dad because he bothers them at lunch. It's freaking amazing.
As we sit here and are like, stabbing. It's amazing. But do you know what? That's one of the things I love about Vicious Oath by Zoe Blake, which is book 2 in the Ivanov series.
Yep.
Because she like stabs him, she shoots, breaks his
So
nose.
funny.
So funny.
I so funny. Like she almost murders him, but it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so have you read Bloodied Hands by Adelaide Forrest?
I haven't.
So I think Adelaide Forrest is this quiet sleeper of an author. I know that she writes under Harper Wood's fantasy, but her Mafia is phenomenal. So she has this series that Bloody Hands is part of, and it's a second chance romance. They're high school sweethearts. He breaks up with her. And this is one of those where she goes to bed. They've had their first date. She goes to bed and she wakes up the next morning with him in bed with her. And she's like, I locked the doors. He's like, your locks suck. Like, that's for you, Merritt, because I know you love that trope too.
That's so funny.
Like, she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, yeah, we're together. Like, so it's not really kidnapping, but she is kidnapped by someone else within the book. But it's kind of that obsessive, possessive stalker guy that just moves
Yeah.
in.
I love that. I love that trope too. It's like niche, but I love it.
Okay, so sometimes it's the outside force causing the danger. Which is where like the Susan Stokers, the Catherine Cowells, I think Riley Edwards has some of these too.
Yep.
Maya Banks and her KGI series, they're all kind of like that. Um, Codename or the Codename Jameson Force series by Sawyer
Yeah.
Bennett, they're stalkers and kidnappers and, kind of that security protective detail. But what are some other ones that it's these outside forces blackmailing or causing the stalker or kidnapping. Do you have?
Yeah, so The Bribe by Willa Nash slash Devney Perry, she moves to this small town to get away from a stalker. She's a famous person. Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, the first book in her Hoops series. Definitely check your trigger warnings for that book. Um, but like, she's kind of got a stalker, like, won't spoil it, but there's definitely some outside danger that you think once she's out of it, she's good, and then, it comes back around.
Yeah. Um, I will also say Rena Morgan, her Mena Haven series. There are stalkers. I can't remember if there's been any kidnappings. Oh, there is kidnapping in her Nola Knight series. Have you listened to that series yet? They're in
I have.
Hoopla.
I know. I've started to listen to
Do you
them.
like them?
I do. I like them a lot.
I think
They're
she's a
really
really
good.
solid author that we I talk about all the time, but nobody else talks about.
I know. I know. I'm so bad because I like really do only read indie.
I do mostly read
And
indie, but I'll say
but
with
that like her books aren't
they're not
like the
indie.
same as like some of the other like trad books that I tend to have issues with.
So they're Carina Press, which is a division
Right.
of Harlequin, and that's where Angelina M. Lopez is writing. That's where Natalie Kenya is writing, and it,
Yes.
Roan Parrish writes a lot for Carina Press Adores, which is their LGBTQIA line. I can read those trad pub books.
Yes. Same.
I don't tend to have the same issues because they aren't afraid to have the mafia. I mean, like, um, in Angelina M. Lopez's After Hours on Milagro Street, like they have sex at 2%. She thinks he's a
Oh,
ghost. Consent is very
that's so
gray in
funny.
that moment. He just kind of goes with it. It's weird.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Um, but
But
yes, so I understand, not wanting to read, but I do think Maya Banks, that Mena Haven and that Nola Knight series, if you like these possessive, over the top alpha heroes
yep.
and you want some, I often hear from like Leah and from Heather and maybe even a little you that I don't like romantic suspense, but it's not that I don't like romantic suspense. It's that I don't have a very high tolerance for just okay romantic suspense. I
Yeah.
need exceptional romantic suspense. And I
Yeah,
think
I get that.
I think Maya gives me that. Maya Banks gives me that. Rena Morgan gives me that. We did that Perfect Gentleman series by Shayla Black and Lexi Blake. And that had stalkers and kidnappers and political crime all over
Right?
it. Shayla Black's another author that does like a good kidnapping, but
She does.
outside
I really
forces.
like, yes, I like hers a lot. And one that's like not necessarily always kidnapping, but definitely like outside danger is the Fallen Men series by Gianna Darling.
I also had, what one of hers did I have on my list too? Oh, The Dangerous
Oh,
Temptations,
yeah,
which
that
is part of
I
that
read that.
Midnight Dynasty
And
series that Sky Warren writes. Oh,
the
those men are kind of.
Antiheroes in Love duet is like mafia.
Is
She's
that
his lawyer.
Gianna?
Yeah,
Anti
she's
Heroes?
his lawyer.
Okay, I like
All
that.
kinds of danger happening.
Jacinda Wilder does like Outside Stalkers, her series, her Alpha series, which is also romantic suspense. The first three books are a trilogy, but then the rest of the books are each the individuals that are part of a security force. That has an outside stalker and a kidnapping, an international, and a yacht, which our previous episode was all about travel. And I have a
Yeah,
thing for books that take place on yachts, just so we all know.
so funny.
And I had Wicked as Seduction by Shayla Black. That has a stalker in it.
I like that one a lot.
Did you read it's an older series. It came out after the 50 Shades kind of thing and it came out through Love Swept, I believe. Tracy Wolf had a series called the Ethan Frost series. It was a Did you read that one?
Yes,
It has all sorts of bonkersness in it.
it really does.
Can you believe that was a Trad Pub book? Because I don't think that
No.
book would be published right now.
Oh, absolutely not. Like it absolutely would not.
But it's really good.
Absolutely not. It was really good.
It was
And I
really
like
good.
the Crossfire series.
Oh, by Sylvia Day.
Yeah, that was
Laura Lynn Page also likes an outside stalker kind
yeah, I
of
love
her dirty, flirty Richmond duet, the
yeah.
dirty duet that has an outside stalker.
There's like the Outside Danger, that A.L. Jackson series that we're reading that we just read.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that in my book of the week.
Okay.
Oh wait, which one are you talking? Are you talking about Kiss the
With the
Stars?
stars.
Oh, because have you read the new
That
one yet?
series. Yeah, I
We'll
have.
talk about that in book of the week. Yes, Kiss the Stars has an outside stalker, and all four of those books in that series have, um, kind of like her Redemption Hill series, has some kind of outside force that is causing danger,
Yes.
and the heroes have to protect. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? For the Love of Whiskey, that Redemption Ranch series by
Oh,
Melissa
yes.
Foster, it's outside danger. She's worried. She doesn't quite, I mean, I guess she has a stalker, but she's running. I love that book.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
um,
good.
so very good. See, and I don't, unlike you, I do not have all my books right behind me. They're all over the place. So I'm
My
like,
Gianna Darling books are like right behind me. So I was like, oh, what is that called?
um, Nora Roberts actually likes a good kidnapping and a stalker too. Like, I think we should
I love
mention
it.
the OG queen that she is.
She is.
Because, like, I think about Shelter in Place. That one is really good, and she has a stalker. And there's one that
It
takes
is
place in a
good.
small town in Tennessee. She moves home. She has a stalker. So if I think about it, again, back to the old school romances that I read, we can also blame Nora Roberts
Yeah, you
because
can.
it's her fault, right?
It is
Like,
her fault.
so it's like she was, grooming me to love kidnapping.
Grooming you.
I don't know what else to call it. That was the wrong word. Well, we are like a
It
red flag
was.
episode. Um,
Yeah, that is like the biggest red flag word ever.
so how would you, okay, so like when we're reading these kinds of romances, because like we have now slung like I think probably 50 book recs at all of our listeners.
So many.
When you're reading these romance, how do these two things create a different experience in the reading? Like the outside force or the fact that the hero has forced them to be together, or
Yeah.
how does this create a different reading experience than just a contemporary romance with a third act breakup? Because a lot of these aren't going to have third act breakups.
Right. So I really like them mostly because there is no third act breakup usually. The tension and the drama comes from something outside of the couple. And I like that because I like my couple to just like be solid, but I like the excitement too. I like the excitement. Like it just adds something different.
Well, I think of the movie Speed. So that's a love story, right?
Right.
I believe that Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock get an HEA at the end of that movie after they save everybody on the bus, right?
Exactly.
But the tension and the action of that movie, create this chemistry that if it
Right.
wasn't for these certain perfect situations, we would never have experienced that kind of chemistry.
Yes, that's so true.
So it's really like, I mean, if you like a chick flick, you like a rom com, you like a girl movie, whatever, sometimes you want a little action. And I feel like these kinds are basically Romance Landia's action movies.
Yes. Yeah, that is such like an accurate statement.
So I'm in my movie phase too right
Yeah.
now because I'm working on another episode that's all about movies and romance.
I think I read them a lot faster.
You can't not read them faster because these are ones, typically, these are books that you're desperate to know what happens next. It doesn't
Yes.
always follow a formula either. Now, I have been critical of a couple authors that tend to write like outside kidnappings a little formulaic. But overall, like in these dark romances, you do not get a form. I don't feel like A.L. Jackson in her writing, it is not a formula. I never know what's going to happen in her
Right.
books,
Oh, I know. I'm like, what is going on, Amy? Come
right?
on.
Like people are being run over, excuse me? Um but I feel the same way like that Until I Get You by I didn't know what was going to how was this going to work out that we weren't going to hate him.
Yeah.
So same thing with Mafia Mistress, and I know you're just reading this right now. Like, how are we gonna love him in the end? Are we
Well,
gonna?
what's funny is I started reading it, like obviously it's been on my TBR for a while, like people talk about it all the time. But someone posted their annotations of the first book, and it's basically all about how much they hate him
Yeah.
and how much of a dick he is. And I was like, well, I guess I gotta read it.
Well, I was Descent by Sam Marino. He's a jerk. Like,
I love it.
he finds out her brother owes a debt. He's taking it from her, and he's taking it with sex. And again, no consent. It's fine. Um. So it's one of those that the pages turn themselves almost. Like you just are desperate to know what's next.
Yes.
Is there any kidnapping, stalking, or possessive hero titles that we missed that you need to mention now, Rachel?
I think we got like most of mine.
The only ones that I will mention that we didn't talk about, Taken by Him by Misha Stone. It is sort of kidnapping. Her twin sister was promised to the hero, but the twin sister passes away, and he just comes and takes her and says, "Well, I'm taking you instead." But he didn't know the sister that passed away, so it's not weird. Mr. Garcia by T.L. Swan. He's kind of the
Yes.
possessive, over the top, freaking asshole. That is an enemies to lovers that I am not sure they even like each other at the end of that book. That book, at the end of that
I,
book, I'm still like,
I feel like that
huh?
with a lot of her books.
Huh? Are those people still together?
I'm
Also,
like, yes, exactly that.
J.L. Beck and Monica Corwin, they wrote Vow to Protect and Promise to Keep. It's a duet. Have you read this one?
Ooh.
So this one is interesting. At the beginning of the book, the heroine is promised to somebody else, but he's a jerk. He's mean. He's abusive. She is the daughter of a Don. She goes to a different Don and says, "Please save me. I will give you anything, but you have to get rid of this guy that's my fiance."
Oh my
And
gosh.
he doesn't hear from her. So he goes to the house and he finds her. She's been brutalized and she's tied to a bed, and realizes that her fiance that she was promised to has done this to her. He then takes her back to his house. So he kidnaps her in the name of saving her.
I like it.
It's really great. It's really, really great. 10 out of 10 recommend. Um, okay, so those are our red flags in real life, but we love them in romance. Book Rex.
That's so funny. I love it.
I don't know what else to call this because I was like, oh, stalkers, kidnappers, oh my, but really, I said a lot of things that aren't right.
And just remember, we only like this in our romance novels, not real life.
Although Mike did offer to rent a white van and kidnap me if it would, as a wedding
Well,
anniversary gift. So
that would be really fun, and you should do it.
totally right. Okay. Okay, everybody, those are our book recs. You can find them on our on the shelf show notes. So that means it is now time for Book of The week.
You really need Leah here to
I know.
help for that.
Someday I'll get an echo. Someday, but not today. Okay, Rachel, what was your book of the week?
My book of the week is Neutral Zone by Tegan Hunter. It is the seventh book in her Carolina Comets hockey series. All of them can be read as standalones, really. Um, this one was great. It was a lot different than a lot of like romance books you read.
So is this the one she's a cam girl, so she's a sex worker?
Yeah. So, yes, she's a cam girl. She doesn't do any like things super explicit,
Okay.
but she is a cam girl and he is a voyeur.
Okay, but he's also a pro hockey player,
He
correct?
is. And he's super shy and he's got a missing tooth. And they like know each other on like the periphery, right? Because she works in the donut truck that w two of the other heroines own.
Okay.
And obviously he is a hockey player. So she's a cam girl and like her friends know it. It's not like this big secret. It's not a secret from him.
She's also plus size, right?
Yes.
Or is she curvy?
Um, Good question. Like
Do
her
they talk
like
about like softness of her belly or
yes.
supple thighs?
She doesn't use the term supple thighs, but she talks about
Like
like
big
her
thighs.
stomach. She talks about her stomach and like rolls and how
Okay.
like she used to dress in clothes that did not fit her because people put her down.
So I'd go
But
with
then
plus
she
size.
started, yep, so she started dressing in clothes that fit her and she's very confident and like there's a scene where someone in the chat calls her fat and the hero goes at someone in the chat,
Okay. This
but
book has been
really
on my
good.
periphery all week because everybody's talking about it.
It's really truly so good.
And I love a plus size heroine and I love a sex positive sex worker. And a cam girl is a sex worker. And I love when it's given done in a positive,
Yes, I love that that
forward
was
way.
not a secret that she was hiding from the world and it wasn't like a source of tension
Yeah.
in the way it usually is. I thought Tegan did a great job
Well,
with this book.
I will have to check that out.
I would say like it would be a good place to start with her books. I mean, it's potentially the last book in the Comet series,
You know, that
but
doesn't bug me.
no, and he's newer to the team, so it's not as like ingrained as like,
Sure.
you know, some of the others. So the other couples are in the book, and if you're intrigued, if you like this book, you can go back and read the others. They're all coming out in audio. So
Fun.
the first five are in audio, and then the next two are coming out this year sometime.
Okay. I will have to check that out. So that, what is it called again?
Neutral Zone.
Neutral zone.
And she's got the Hawkeye covers, Becky.
I love a Hawkeye cover. You know how I feel. Okay, so my book of the week, I kind of want to have two, but I will save it for one for now. Um, Love Me Today by A.L. Jackson. This is book one in her Time River series. And I read this a little over a week ago, and I am still not sure I'm okay from this book. It was, first of all, and I told her this at book club, I hope we stay here for a while because I love the town. I love some of these characters that she's brought to the forefront, and I don't want it to just be the brother cousin guys. I want it to be like her brother and her bestie and all this stuff. Like all these people need books. But this book was, I don't know. There was just something magical about this book and the way it was written. And I loved the line that you're my favorite day because the heroine's name is Paisley Day. And Caleb's a single dad, and his little girl, Evelyn, she's only 4 or 5. She's so age appropriately written. And she's like, you're going to come back tomorrow, right? And she's like, yeah, that'll be my favorite day. Tomorrow is my favorite day, just like you're my favorite day. And I loved it. It was just so sweet.
I know.
I loved that
It
book.
was. And I loved the audio too. So any audio readers.
Yeah, it was Joe Arden and Andy Arndt on that audio. And I'll be honest, I ended up reading that one. I didn't necessarily love Joe and Andy's mashup.
Oh, I liked it. So
Yeah,
everyone's different.
it's really different because I like Joe with Aaron Mallon, and I really like
Yes.
Andy when she's with Jacob Morgan or Zach Weber. Like, I love her with him. So it's just different.
Yeah, that's funny. I think I just like don't pick up on things.
It's okay. You also listen to it at like 2 speed, so
It's true. That's true. 2.1.
2.1, even better. Okay, Patreon update. Swag packs are headed out this week. I am so excited to share our swag pack. Sponsoring authors for June is author Brett Benson and Karen Gray. Swag packs will go out to the Fancy Drink, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tiers. We still have fun buzzing about romance exclusive stickers in each pack, mood reader cards, and other fun things. They are mailed monthly on the 5th of the month. We do ship these internationally. There is no wait time on this perk. It kicks in as soon as you join. So if you would like stickers from Britt Benson and Karen Gray, which Karen also has a free audiobook in her swag that she gave. So if you would like to have access to these perks, consider joining us over on Patreon. Because of our amazing Patreon people, we are able to bring you 3 episodes a week, and we still are working on our goal of 70 members so that we can plan our first ever book retreat. All members of Patreon get exclusive episodes along with perks like Drunk Book Club. And also, just so the chaos can continue, back by popular demand is Summer Reading Challenge. It is a way scaled back version, but still will be lots of fun. You can find details on our website. This Summer Reading Challenge will run from June 21st through July 31st. And you can find a list of all of our events at bookcaseandcoffee.com/events, including happy hours, IG lives, and book clubs. Also, we will be having a meetup for Buzzing About Romance listeners in the first weekend in November in Indianapolis. So if you are either planning on going to the HEA Reader event or you live in the Indianapolis area and would like to get to meet all of us from Buzzing About Romance, you will want to make sure you are following us over on social media, but along our newsletter, because we will have more details, and we are in the works of that, and it should be a really good, fun time. Rachel, thank you for coming on and talking kidnappers and stalkers with me.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
It's great to catch up with you. I know your life is busy.
Yes.
We don't get to chat as much as we used to.
I know, I miss it.
Anyway, until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.